levels of resistance and try to show some amount of strength, which hints at some amount of upside. I would keep us, very close set of stop on this at about 167 or 168, and try to go long in it with an expectation of about 180. The other stock I would venture my arm out with would be HDIL. This is kind of behaving very differently when you compare it with the other two, IB Real and let's say DLF. Usually they run as a pack, so I think this is it's having some sort of a differential behavior. So I think I would go long in an HDL at about 155 with a stop at about 51 or thereabouts, and look for slightly higher target at about 167 to 169.
Nothing that looks very weak. Sorry, nothing that looks very weak on the charts, Dr. Narayan?
Lots of things look very weak, but with about 2 days to go prior to budget, I don't really want to short the market, because I don't see the market really falling out of its lower end. It looks range bound in the 54-55 area, so you're not really going to see individual shares really cave in without there being very specific news. If there is news, of course, then it's a different story. But at this stage, I don't really want to go and short something very aggressively. Maybe leave it alone that and just look at something which has been lying around lower and which might have a slight upside kicker later.
Okay. The last bit of stocks, Dr. Narayan, that I want to talk to you about are some of the financials. I'm talking about how some of these potential banking license candidates have shot up in trade. So be it the FinServs, Indiabulls Finance, or maybe even your Reliance Capital for that matter, which is a part of ADAG as well. But 3 or 4 or 5 of these stocks, and IFCA for example, have kind of given a bit of an uptick. Have you looked at the charts, and are these sustainable?
Yeah, I have been looking at these charts principally from that very angle, because most of these names, along with a few others, have been often sort of bandied about as being potential license candidates. But I also read somewhere that the whole idea about granting license themselves has been deferred by the government for the moment. So it's essentially not watching the charts but watching the government all over again in this matter, because until and unless there is a green signal, all of them are on supports of some nature. Let's admit to that, or we have a consensus on that. So it would really be something which would be tied to the event. So they are not really showing any individual strengths. IFCI used to be a great trader's play, but over the last month or two, it's actually quietened down. The others are not so liquid, not so much in play as maybe IFCI used to be. So I think people are just waiting for the actual event. When the announcement comes or there are stronger rumors about it, I think that's when you will see the play. These upticks that you see every now and then, I would choose to ignore them without there being something more substantial in the form of some news.
All right, Dr. Narayan, we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining us today and giving us those ideas and your recommendations as well as the views on the market. So, those are a couple of stocks that you should be believing that there is potential long trade here with targets of close to $102, $103 per barrel on crude. For our markets, we're doing okay. I mean, no great shakes, flat on the indices, and an odd Reliance Infra which is up in trade, but that aside, not too much really happening. A bit of a downtick in the last 15 minutes, but still it's a flat trade. And aside of a Reliance Infra, maybe a Reliance Capital throw in. Not too many stocks were on the upside. I mean, Hero Honda and Tata Motors, the Maruti Suzuki, the auto pack has given a bit of an uptick today. And the ADAG pack has. Sterlite Industries probably throwing one, but not too many stocks on the upside. On the downside, however, I was looking at the subdued trades. Ranbaxy sheds off another 5% as the market digests the numbers, so 5.5% down for that one. SBI, the big boy, is down 3.5%. IDFC corrects in trade today as well, so not good going for that one. The entire banking lot, in fact, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank is down in trade, so these two along with SBI. The banking stocks are down in trade. Metals haven't had the best of session, so while Sterlite does what it does, Tata Steel is a bit soft in trade today as well, so is Jindal Steel and Power. So it's been a bit of a mixed trade on the index, and it is fairly flat. On the mid-cap side, there are individual trades playing out. The Libyan trade possibly coming into Hornpunj Lloyd once again, so 4.5% down for that one. Some of the other stocks have also corrected, keeping that in mind. And on the upside, the SBI Trio have done well. Let's just go by the stocks. But while we've seen the State Bank Trio doing very well, Pull Up, Gammon India and Gammon Infra, those have had a fairly reasonable day because of the order that they have won, close to 1960 crores odds. So these two have done well. And last but not the least, pull up ABB, because that one corrected quite a bit in trade, and rightly so. Second quarter or the third quarter in the row wherein the numbers have disappointed majorly. And okay, that stock after that initial downtake is up close to 5%. So that's an interesting move on ABB. 701 is where that one is trading. We should get that.